Where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. Before we dive into this heartwarming story, hit subscribe so you'll never miss the most courageous dog tales we share every day. What if a dog rose from the dead to expose a decade-old nightmare, and the only witness to unspeakable horrors was man's best friend? Imagine a stormy midnight in Willowbrook, Oregon, a sleepy suburban town where the biggest excitement is usually the annual harvest fair. Rain lashes against the windows like angry fists, thunder rumbling like a distant warning. But on this night, something extraordinary shatters the quiet routine at Riverside General Hospital. The automatic ER doors slide open with a whoosh, and in bursts a massive Labrador retriever, his golden fur drenched and matted eyes wild with determination, clutched gently in his powerful jaws. Not a toy, not a blanket, but a tiny shivering infant, barely a few days old, wrapped in a tattered cloth, her little cries piercing the sterile air like a desperate plea. Picture the scene. Nurses freeze mid-step, a doctor drops his clipboard, and the security guard reaches for his radio, unsure if he's facing a threat or a miracle. This dog, let's call him Max, doesn't bark or snap. He just strides forward with purpose, places the baby ever so carefully on the cool tile floor, and collapses beside her panting heavily, his paws bloodied from what must have been miles of rough terrain. The infant's skin is pale, bruised, her breaths shallow and ragged. She's hypothermic dehydrated, fighting for life in a world that seems to have forgotten her. And Max, he locks eyes with anyone who dares approach too close, a low growl rumbling from his chest like a guardian's vow. Back off, she's under my protection now. In that frozen moment, Nurse Carla Hayes, a veteran of 15 years who's seen it all from car wrecks to heart attacks, whispers to her colleague, This is straight out of a dream or a nightmare. They rush the baby, whom they later nickname Little Grace, to the trauma bay, hooking her up to warm blankets, IV fluids, and monitors that beep like frantic heartbeats. But Max refuses to leave. He paces outside the glass door, his loyal gaze never wavering, as if he knows secrets the humans can't yet fathom. Now, let's pause and think about this deeper, friends, because stories like Max's aren't just fairy tales. They're rooted in the real magic of animal instinct. Remember that incredible case back in 2018 when a Labrador named Bella in Australia dove into a raging river to save a drowning toddler? She swam against the current, grabbed the child's shirt in her mouth, and pulled him to safety, defying all odds. What drives a dog like that? Or like Max? It's that unbreakable bond bred into working. Breeds like Labradors, where loyalty isn't just a trait, it's a survival code. The cause: generations of selective breeding for companionship and rescue work, turning them into four-legged heroes who sense danger before we do. But the consequences? Oh, they're profound. Lives saved, families reunited, and a ripple effect that boosts animal adoption rates and welfare laws worldwide. Yet here's where we contrast the beauty with the harsh reality. Too often, people dismiss these instincts as coincidence. Think about it. How many times have strays been shooed away from doors labeled as nuisances when they might be trying to alert us? A common mistake is underestimating animals, assuming they're driven by food or fear rather than intelligence and empathy. In elder care homes, for instance, dogs have been known to bark incessantly at abusive staff only to be ignored, leading to tragedies that could have been prevented. The lesson here is simple but powerful. Trust the unspoken signals. Animals like Max don't act on whims. They remember, they protect, and they teach us that true heroism often comes without words. As the storm outside begins to ease, Deputy Sarah Thompson, daughter of Max's late handler John Thompson, rushes into the hospital after a frantic call from Sheriff Mark Ellis. Sarah hasn't seen Max in nearly a decade, not since her father's accidental death during a shady investigation. She kneels down, her voice cracking. Max, boy, is that really you? He presses his head against her chest as if saying, I've been waiting. But then comes the twist that sends chills down everyone's spine. Sarah checks his half-torn collar tag. It reads, K9 Unit Max, retired and euthanized 2015. Euthanized, dead for 10 years. Yet here he stands alive, defiant with a mission that defies explanation. How did he survive, and what horrors has he unearthed to bring this child here? If your heart's racing like mine, hold on, because this is just the beginning. As Sarah and the team start piecing together the clues, Max's unyielding vigilance leads them straight into the hospital's shadowed past. The rain has softened to a drizzle outside Riverside General Hospital, but inside, the air crackles with tension, thicker than the storm ever was. Max, the Labrador retriever, who defied death itself, paces outside the trauma bay where little Grace fights for life, his amber eyes scanning every nurse, every janitor, every flickering shadow. His low growl cuts through the hum of monitors whenever someone steps too close to the glass door, as if he's daring them to challenge his vigil. Oh, that dog's not just protecting her, he's guarding a secret bigger than all of us. Nurse Carla Hayes mutters, her hands trembling as she adjusts Grace's IV. The baby's tiny chest rises and falls, steadied by machines, but her bruised skin and eerie silence scream of horrors no infant should endure. Deputy Sarah Thompson kneels beside Max in the hallway, her heart pounding as she strokes his damp fur. "You're supposed to be gone, boy," she whispers, her voice breaking. "Dad said they put you down after he—" She can't finish the sentence. Her father, John Thompson, was Max's handler, a decorated K9 officer whose accidental death in 2015, falling off a cliff during a hike, never sat right with her. Sarah was just 19 then, and the grief had hardened her into the no-nonsense deputy she is today. But seeing Max alive, carrying a child from who knows where, it's like her father's ghost just walked into the room. "What did you see, Max?" "What brought you back?" she asks, but Max only presses his head against her. His warmth, a silent promise. "I'll show you." Let's pause here, friends, because this moment, Sarah and Max, reunited, hits like a thunderbolt to the soul. Think about real-life stories where dogs defy all odds to return to their people. Like in 2019, when a Labrador named Luna trekked 50 miles across Colorado to find her owner after a car accident separated them. Why do dogs do this? It's not just instinct. It's a loyalty so deep, it's practically sacred, wired into their DNA through years of training and trust. The cause. A bond that transcends time, stronger than any human promise. The consequence. These animals become beacons of hope, reminding us that love doesn't quit, even when the world tells it to. But here's the flip side. We often overlook these signs. People shoo away strays or dismiss a dog's frantic barking as a nuisance, missing warnings of danger, like when service dogs in nursing homes have alerted to neglect only to be ignored. The lesson. When a dog like Max shows up, you listen, because they don't just act, they know. Sarah's thoughts are interrupted by Dr. Elena Ramirez, who emerges from the trauma bay, her face pale. "Sarah, you need to see this," she says, holding up the tattered cloth that wrapped Grace. It's coarse, almost brittle, with a faded tag stitched into the corner Riverside General Hospital neonatal wing. "That's impossible." Carla gasps, her eyes wide. "That wing burned down in 2010. No one's used those blankets in over a decade." Sarah's stomach twists. A fire. A cover-up. Her father had been digging into hospital records before his death, muttering about missing files and babies who never left. Was Max carrying proof of something her dad died, trying to expose? Max suddenly stands, his ears perked, and lets out a sharp bark that echoes down the hall. He bolts toward a janitor's closet at the far end of the east wing, scratching at the door like it's hiding a bomb. "What is it, boy?" Sarah asks, grabbing a flashlight. Sheriff Mark Ellis, bleary-eyed but alert, joins her, muttering, "That dog's got a nose for trouble." They push aside mops and buckets, revealing a false wall, dusty, flimsy, and out of place in a modern hospital. Sarah's heart races. "Oh, no way, what's behind this?" she exclaims, her crowbar cracking the drywall open with one swing. A rush of cold, stale air hits them, carrying the scent of mold and something metallic. A hidden staircase spirals down into darkness, its rusted steps untouched for years. Take a second to feel that chill, friends. This isn't just a closet, it's a gateway to secrets buried deeper than any grave. Compare this to real scandals, like the Tuskegee experiments, where hospitals hid atrocities for decades, driven by greed or unchecked power. The cause institutions exploiting trust, especially in rural towns like Willowbrook, where oversight is thin. The consequence: generations of pain silenced victims and eroded faith in systems meant to protect us. But the mistake we keep making: ignoring whistleblowers, human or animal. Dogs like Max have exposed abuse before, like the K9 in Texas, who uncovered a hoarding case by refusing to leave a suspect's yard. The lesson here is stark. When the voiceless speak, whether through barks or cries, we'd better listen, or we're complicit in the silence. Sarah descends the stairs, Max at her side, his tail low but steady. At the bottom, her flashlight reveals a chilling sight. A long corridor lined with peeling pastel wallpaper, faded bunnies and stars clinging to the grime. Abandoned hospital cribs stand like ghosts, each with a tag scribbled over in red marker. But it's the walls that stop her cold, covered in children's drawings, faded crayons depicting a Labrador unmistakably, Max labeled in shaky handwriting, "He watches when I'm scared." Sarah's breath catches. "Max, you were here?" she whispers, her voice trembling. Commentary. Sarah's shock is ours too. Her realization that Max wasn't just a hero, but a survivor of this nightmare, hits like a gut punch, showing how dogs carry burdens we can't imagine. Then comes the twist that'll make your jaw drop. Max whines, pawing at a rusted metal door sealed with a bolt. Sarah yanks it open, revealing a room stacked with files labeled Project Shadow. A single page slips to the floor, stamped with a name, Dr. Victor Hale, Neonatal Director 2010. Hale, who vanished after the fire that closed the wing. But clipped to the page is a photo Max younger in a canine harness beside her father John. Below it, in red ink, subject K9 Alpha terminated. Terminated Max was part of this Sarah's world spins. "They tried to kill you too, didn't they?" she says, her eyes burning with tears. Max looks up, his gaze steady as if saying, "We're not done yet. Hold on tight, because Max's trail is leading Sarah deeper into a conspiracy that's been buried for a decade." What did they do to those children? And what did Max see that made him come back from the dead? If you're as gripped as I am, stay with us. This is only getting darker. The air in the hidden basement beneath Riverside General Hospital feels like a tomb, cold, heavy, and thick with secrets that cling to the walls like the peeling pastel bunnies staring blankly from the shadows. Deputy Sarah Thompson stands frozen, her flashlight trembling in her hand as she clutches the file labeled Project Shadow. Max, the Labrador retriever who's defied death to lead her here, sits at her feet, his ears perked, his amber eyes locked on the rusted metal door they just pried open. The photo of Max and her father John, with the chilling words, "Subject K9 Alpha terminated," burns in Sarah's mind. "They didn't just try to silence Dad," she whispers, her voice cracking with rage and grief. "They came for you too, Max. Oh, how could they?" Max lets out a low whine, nudging her leg as if urging her to keep going to uncover the truth he's carried for a decade. Sarah pushes deeper into the room, her boots crunching on grit and broken glass. The shelves are lined with medical files, vials of murky liquid and plastic bins labeled with numbers instead of names. Subject Z1, Subject Z2, Subject Z3. She opens one, her heart sinking as she reads Project Shadow initiated 2010. Objective test: neonatal resilience under extreme isolation and sensory deprivation. The words hit like a punch. They were experimenting on babies. She gasps, her voice echoing in the stale air. What kind of monsters do this? The files detail horrors. Infants kept in soundproof chambers, deprived of touch, subjected to drug trials to measure emotional suppression and enhanced sensory response. One note stands out. Subject Z1, female born, 2010, low vocalization, abnormal adrenal activity. Sarah's blood runs cold. That's little Grace the baby. Max brought in, isn't it? Let's take a breath, friends, because this is the kind of darkness that makes your skin crawl. Stories like this aren't just fiction. They echo real atrocities, like the Romanian orphanage experiments in the 1980s, where children were isolated to study developmental delays. The cause: greed and unchecked power, often masked as scientific progress, like pharmaceutical companies funding rural hospitals to bypass ethics boards. The consequence: lifelong trauma, children who can't form bonds, who flinch at human touch, their brains wired for survival, but not love. Compare this to the light animals bring. Therapy dogs like Labradors in PTSD programs help kids heal where science fails, their warmth unlocking emotions humans can't reach. But the mistake we make: turning a blind eye to vulnerable populations, orphans, undocumented families, even animals like Max, because they're disposable. The lesson here is gut-wrenching. Silence breeds suffering. But a single act of courage like Max's can shatter it. Commentary: Sarah's trembling hands as she reads the files mirror our own horror, but Max's steady presence. It's a reminder that loyalty can anchor us when humanity fails. Dr. Elena Ramirez calls Sarah back upstairs, her voice urgent over the radio. "We ran Grace's blood work again. Something's wrong. Her DNA. It's not registering normally. And her adrenal glands, swollen like she's been under constant stress, but she hasn't cried once." Sarah rushes to the NICU. Max, trotting beside her, his tail low but alert. In the trauma bay, Grace lies still, her big brown eyes tracking Max through the glass. "She knows you," Elena says, softly, pointing to a faint scar on Grace's back, a healed incision not from birth but from a procedure. Sarah's mind races back to the files. Subject Z1 spinal tap. Age 4 days response study. "Oh God, they cut into her as a newborn," she exclaims, her voice breaking. Commentary: Elena's quiet determination to uncover the truth reflects the unsung heroism of medical whistleblowers. But it's Max's unwavering gaze on Grace that screams devotion, teaching us that protection doesn't need words, just action. Sheriff Mark Ellis joins them, his face grim. "Sarah, your dad. He came to me in 2010. Said he found records of babies marked as stillborn but with vitals logged days later. He thought Dr. Victor Hale was running something off the books." Sarah's eyes narrow. Hale, the neonatal director who disappeared after the fire. Mark nods. "Your dad pushed for an investigation. 3 weeks later, he was dead. And Max?" He trails off, looking at the Labrador, who's now sniffing the air, his hackles raised. "They said they put him down, but clearly they lied." Sarah's fists clench. "They killed Dad to cover this up, didn't they?" And Max saw it all. Max suddenly bolts down the hallway, his bark sharp and urgent, leading them to an old records room, its door welded shut behind a renovation wall. "What now, boy?" Sarah asks, her heart pounding. The fire department cuts through the steel, revealing not ash or debris, but pristine files, hundreds of them, labeled by gestational age weight and chilling status updates. Subject terminated. Photos are stapled to each report. Babies with scars. Tubes, vacant, stares. Sarah's stomach churns. This wasn't just a few kids. It was a system, she cries. Commentary: Sarah's fury is a call to action, echoing real-world advocates who expose institutional abuse. But Max's relentless drive. It's pure animal instinct, proving that sometimes the voiceless are the loudest warriors. Then comes the twist that'll stop your heart. Among the files, Sarah finds a sealed envelope marked Canine Alpha Observation Log. Inside a report details Max's role in Project Shadow not as a guard dog, but as a test subject. Enhanced sensory response under stress. It reads describing injections to heighten his instincts, making him a living alarm for the experiments. But there's more. Canine Alpha escaped containment, witnessed unauthorized transport of subject Z1. Handler warned. Termination ordered. Sarah's knees buckle. They made you a lab rat. Max. And you still came back to save her. Max looks up, his eyes steady as if saying, I never forgot. Exclamation. Unbelievable. A dog turned guinea pig becomes the hero. Commentary. Max's survival isn't just luck. It's defiance. A testament to the unbreakable spirit of animals we underestimate, urging us to fight for those who can't. The room feels smaller now, the walls closing in as Sarah realizes the depth of the conspiracy. Max whines, pawing at the floor. His nose pointed to a corner where a loose tile hides a key. A key to what? Oh, Max, what else are you hiding? Sarah says, her voice trembling with dread and awe. If you're gripping your seat like I am, brace yourself because Max is about to lead Sarah into the heart of Project Shadow, where more children wait, and the truth is darker than anyone imagined. The hidden basement beneath Riverside General Hospital feels like it's closing in the air, thick with dust and dread, as Deputy Sarah Thompson grips the mysterious key Max uncovered. The Labrador retriever stands tense, his ears twitching, his nose pointed toward a steel door at the far end of the corridor, half hidden behind crumbling crates. The faint hum of machinery echoes from beyond unnatural in this forgotten place. What's behind there, Max? Sarah whispers, her heart hammering like a war drum. She slides the key into the lock, the metal grinding in protest before clicking open. Oh, please let this be the end of it, she exclaims. But Max's urgent bark tells her otherwise. He's not done yet. The door swings wide, revealing a narrow tunnel, its walls lined with rusted pipes and flickering with shadows that seem to move on their own. Max bolts forward, his claws scraping the concrete, leading Sarah into the unknown. Inside the tunnel twists deeper under the hospital, the air growing colder, sharper like a blade against the skin. Sarah's flashlight catches glints of metal old hospital equipment, discarded syringes, and then a child's drawing taped to the wall. A crude sketch of a Labrador labeled, "My Friend Max." Sarah's breath catches. You were their hope down here, weren't you? She murmurs, her voice thick with awe. Commentary. Sarah's realization that Max was a beacon for these kids, even in their darkest moments, mirrors the unbreakable spirit of rescue dogs like the Labradors, who dug through rubble after 9/11, saving lives when hope seemed lost. Max's presence here isn't just heroic. It's a lifeline proving animals can carry light into places humans abandon. At the tunnel's end, Max stops at a steel grate embedded in the wall. A faint whimper comes from the other side, soft, rhythmic, alive. Oh no, another one! Sarah gasps, her hands shaking as she grabs a pry bar from her belt. The grate screeches as she forces it open, revealing a small concrete chamber. Inside, a toddler no older than 2 lies curled on a thin mattress, her pale skin almost translucent under a silver thermal blanket, her eyes wide and empty. Lock onto Max, and for the first time she moves, reaching out a trembling hand to touch his fur. A single tear rolls down her cheek, silent but shattering. You're safe now, sweetheart, Sarah whispers, wrapping the child in her jacket. Max lets out a low, mournful whine, standing guard, as if he knows the danger isn't over. Commentary. This moment, where a child's first tear meets Max's warmth, is pure magic. It's the kind of bond that therapy dogs forge with trauma survivors, teaching us that healing begins with trust, not words. Sarah radios for backup, and within minutes, Sheriff Mark Ellis and FBI agent Laura Carter arrive, their faces grim. There's more, Carter says, pointing to a hidden monitor in the corner, its screen flickering with live feeds of other chambers. This place. It's a network. Sarah's stomach lurches. How many kids are still down here? She demands, her voice rising. Max barks sharply, darting to another tunnel entrance, his tail rigid. They follow, hearts pounding through a maze of passages until they find 2 more children, an infant in a makeshift crib, and a boy, maybe 4, curled in a corner, his eyes tracking Max like a lifeline. Oh my God, they're alive! Sarah cries, tears streaming as she and Carter carefully lift the children to safety. Max paces beside them, his growls warning off shadows that seem to linger just out of sight. Exclamation. Can you believe it? Max is finding them one by one, like he's memorized every corner of this nightmare. Let's pause, friends, because this is where the stakes skyrocket. Think about real-world rescues. Labradors trained for search and rescue, like those who saved lives after the 2011 Japan tsunami, navigating chaos with unerring focus. The cause: training and instinct honed to detect the faintest signs of life. The consequence: families reunited, communities rebuilt, and a reminder that animals often outshine us in courage. But the mistake we make: underestimating their intelligence, thinking a dog's bark is just noise, not a call to action. Like when a canine in Florida, alerted to a buried child trafficking ring, ignored for weeks until it was almost too late. The lesson: trust the relentless like Max, who never quits. We must keep pushing for the voiceless. Commentary: Sarah's raw emotion as she carries the children reflects our own, but Max's unyielding drive. It's a challenge to us all, daring us to match his resolve in the face of horror. As the team carries the children upstairs, Dr. Elena Ramirez meets them in the NICU, her face ashen. These kids, they're like Grace. No crying, no vocalization, just watching. And their vitals off the charts for stress hormones. She holds up a file from the basement, her hands shaking. It's called Project Shadow. They were trying to create resilient humans, emotionless, adaptable to extreme conditions. They used drugs, isolation even. Spinal taps. Sarah's fists clench. This is inhuman, she snaps. Then a heart-stopping twist. Among the files, Sarah finds her father's journal hidden in a locked box. The last page reads, "If I'm gone." Max knows. Follow him to the truth. Her eyes burn with tears. "You tried to tell us, Dad," she whispers. And Max never forgot. Commentary: John's journal is a gut punch linking father, daughter, and dog in a shared mission, reminding us that legacy lives in those who carry on like Max, whose loyalty outlasts death itself. But the darkness isn't done. As the team prepares to move the children, a security monitor in the NICU flickers, then cuts out for 10 seconds. When it returns, a note is tucked under the infant's blanket, scribbled in shaky ink. "Stop digging, or they won't be the last." Sarah's blood runs cold. "Someone's still here," she says, her voice low. "Someone's watching us." Max growls, his hackles raised, sniffing the air like he senses the traitor. Exclamation: "No way, a mole in the hospital who's betraying them now." Commentary: Sarah's fear is palpable, but Max's alertness is our anchor, proving that betrayal can't outrun a dog's instincts, a lesson to stay vigilant even when victory seems close. Sarah clutches the journal, her resolve hardening. "We're not stopping, Max," she says, meeting his steady gaze. "Not until every child is out." Max barks once, sharp and fierce, and leads her back to the tunnels. If your pulse is racing like mine, hold tight, because Max's quest is far from over. And the next twist will shake everything Sarah thought she knew. The dawn breaks over Willowbrook, Oregon, casting a soft golden glow across Riverside General Hospital. Now, a fortress of flashing police lights and yellow crime scene tape. Inside the NICU, hums with quiet hope as the 5 rescued children. Little Grace, the toddler Sarah, named Lily, 2 infants, dubbed Noah and Emma, and a boy called Ethan, lie in their cribs, their tiny bodies slowly warming under the care of Dr. Elena Ramirez. Max, the Labrador retriever, who led them out of the darkness, curls up outside the glass window, his golden fur streaked with dirt, his eyes half closed but still watchful. "You did it, boy," Deputy Sarah Thompson whispers, kneeling beside him, her hand resting on his head. "You brought them home." Max's tail gives a single slow wag as if to say, "Not yet, Sarah. Not until they're safe." Her heart aches with pride and pain. She knows Max's fight has taken everything from him. "Oh, how can one dog carry so much?" she murmurs, tears brimming. Commentary: Sarah's quiet moment with Max is a testament to the unspoken bond between humans and animals. A bond that outlasts even the deepest wounds, urging us to cherish those who fight for us without asking for glory. Upstairs, the hospital is a whirlwind of activity. FBI agent Laura Carter oversees a team combing through the vault of Project Shadow files, uncovering a web of corruption that stretches beyond Willowbrook, signed NDAs from hospital board members, forged death certificates and bank records, tracing hush money to a pharmaceutical giant. This wasn't just one doctor, Carter says, her voice grim. It was a machine preying on the voiceless. Sarah clutches her father's journal, its pages, now evidence in a federal case. The final entry haunts her. Max knows the truth. Protect him. You tried to stop them, Dad, she says softly, and Max finished what you started. The arrests begin by noon. Former nurses, a security chief, even a retired senator, all linked to Dr. Victor Hale's experiments. Exclamation. Unbelievable. The truth is unraveling. And it's all because of one dog's courage. Let's take a moment, friends, to feel the weight of this justice. Think about real-world parallels like the exposure of the opioid crisis cover-ups, where whistleblowers revealed corporate greed at the cost of lives. The cause. Systems prioritizing profit over ethics, exploiting rural hospitals' desperation for funds. The consequence. A reckoning, lawsuits, reforms, and a spotlight on survivors much like these children. Contrast this with the hope animals bring Labradors in therapy programs like those aiding veterans, post-trauma rebuild trust, where systems fail. The mistake we keep making. Forgetting the heroes, human and animal, who risk everything to expose truth. In 2017, a canine in California was retired without care after uncovering a smuggling ring ignored by the system he served. The lesson, honor the relentless Max's fight, reminds us to protect those who protect us, human or not. Commentary. Sarah's resolve to see this through echoes activists who push for change. But Max's quiet vigil. It's a call to never let loyalty go unrewarded. 2 months later, Sarah sits in a congressional hearing in Washington, D.C. Not in her deputy uniform, but as a witness to history. Max lies beside her, his graying muzzle resting on her knee tail, wagging faintly as lawmakers debate how Project Shadow went unnoticed for a decade. How could this happen in America, one senator demands, but Sarah's mind is on the children. Grace, now stronger, finally cried a single piercing wail that shook the NICU staff. Lily spoke her first word, dog, reaching for Max. Ethan, the boy from the tunnel, clings to Max's fur during therapy, trembling if he leaves. The infants, Noah and Emma, grip fingers when offered their eyes following Max's every move. They're healing because of you, Sarah whispers to Max, her voice thick. Commentary. The children's recovery is a miracle. But it's Max's presence that grounds them. Proving animals can heal wounds, science can't. A lesson to fund therapy, animal programs, and never dismiss their power. Then comes the twist that breaks your heart. Max's microchip, analyzed by a vet, reveals he was injected with experimental compounds during Project Shadow, enhancing his senses but damaging his heart. He's been running on borrowed time, the vet says softly. Sarah's eyes burn. You gave everything, didn't you? She says, stroking Max's fur. Exclamation. Heartbreaking. Max's heroism came at a cost no one saw coming. A month later, at a quiet ceremony, the president kneels to pet Max, pinning a medal to his collar. We owe you, buddy, he says. But Max's eyes are on Grace in the front row, clapping and whispering, doggy. Sarah smiles through tears. You remembered them all, didn't you? Max passes at 14, curled by a fireplace in Sarah's new farmhouse outside Willowbrook. She buries him beside her father's grave, the tombstone reading, Max, Canine Hero. He remembered, he found forever on duty. The children, now in protective care, grow stronger, their laughter echoing in playrooms where Max's spirit lingers. Sarah visits weekly, watching them heal, knowing Max gave them a future. Exclamation. What a legacy! Max's love changed everything. Commentary. Max's death isn't an end, but a beginning, urging us to advocate for animal welfare, to adopt, to volunteer, because every dog like Max deserves a home that honors their heart. Where in the world are you feeling Max's story right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you trust a dog like Max over a system? If his courage moved, you hit subscribe for more heroic animal tales and share this story to honor every voiceless hero. Let's keep Max's legacy alive. Consider donating to local animal shelters or child protection funds at links below. Stay tuned because the next story might just steal your heart all over again.